I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody as ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack.
Is Zach Polanski the left's answer to Nigel Farage? Video by Channel 4 News. We're getting into legacy media today. Do you believe that? Guess what? I am not subscribed and I never will, Rev. Anyway, I wanted to make this video to show a little bit more light towards the Green Party, because guess what? The Green Party does not get pushed as much as every other party. Reform, Labour, Conservatives, these guys do not get the love they deserve, and this is the party that's actually going to help out our country. So I'm just gonna let the video play, and yeah, let's do this, man.
The whole frame of the migration crisis is a racist, fascist frame. The answer is not to blame the migrants. The answer is not to point at the small boats. The answer is to point at the private jets, the private yachts, and to multimillionaires and billionaires.
So you're going to be the
Facts.
next answer to Nigel Farage?
For sure. I guess the one difference I would have is Nigel Farage is a one-man show. If I'm a one-man show, I've absolutely failed as the leader of the Green Party.
You are now going to be running head-to-head, effectively, with Jeremy Corbyn and his new party, and you're going to fracture the left.
Damn.
Hello and
Big
welcome
stakes.
to The Forecast. The Green Party of England and Wales has elected a new leader, and the members, by an overwhelming majority, have voted for the candidate from the party's more radical left wing. Zach Polanski's
Radical left
campaign
wing, that's a
focused
new
more on
one.
Palestine and poverty than plants and the planet. He's a former actor, a member of the London Assembly, but not a member of Parliament. Is he the voice, the face of a new progressive populism that can take on Nigel Farage, or for that matter, Jeremy Corbyn?
Just for you guys that don't know, yeah, obviously he's not a member of Parliament. It just means whenever like you watch the Parliament on news, on Parliament on the TV, you won't see this guy in there. But he has got 4 MPs inside of his party that are MPs, so it doesn't really fucking matter. But it's important to some people, so I can see that. Yeah, let's go.
Very welcome to The Forecast.
Thanks so much for having me on.
Very first off, congratulations.
I very much appreciate that.
How does it feel?
Still
Deserve.
sinking in. It's a little bit surreal, if I'm honest, but also amongst all the elation and the celebration, and I'm sure there's lots of that to come, there's kind of the moment that we're in, which is a very particular moment. There's failing Labour government, reform on the rise, Nigel Farage just this week in that awful press conference around migration. And then you had a Prime Minister who wasn't willing to not even condemn it, but actually implicitly condoned it. So it's a mixed response. I feel really, really good to win the campaign. Of course I do. I've just worked really hard along with my campaign team, but there's also a sense of how big the challenges are ahead, but I think we're ready to take them on.
Okay, well look, you've just started there by talking about reform.
He started off by laying his dick on the table. He's come for all you niggas, bro. Nigel Farage. Labour Party Keir Starmer. Kemi Badenoch. You're all cooked now, bro. But look, let him cook.
And migration. During your campaign, in fact, during your speech earlier, I heard an awful lot about the 2-child benefit cap, disability cuts, wealth taxes, a little bit about water and sewage. I didn't hear an awful lot about the planet in general. Are you now a party about social justice, international campaigning, or are you still the Green Party about environmental issues?
You can't have social justice without environmental justice.
But which do you care more about now?
I think it's not about putting those on a binary. I think it's about recognizing everyone knows the Green Party cares about the climate crisis. We live in one of the most nature depleted countries in the world, and we've all got to care about nature. If nature collapses, we have nothing. At the same time, people know that about the Green Party.
I actually want to see if that's true. Are we one of the most nature depleted countries in the world? One of the most depleted in the world, but the UK is heavily nature depleted compared to many other developed countries and far more depleted than most people realise. Biodiversity Intactness Index, 50% intact. One of the lowest in Europe and the world's richest nations. Global rank for biodiversity loss among the bottom 10% of all countries. 10%! God damn! That's probably why everywhere you go in London, it's just grey. Just fucking grey. So he's talking facts right here. Alright.
I don't need to keep repeating that. What people don't know about the Green Party is we want to lower your bills. We want to nationalise the water companies. We want to take on wealth and power in this country. And we want to make sure that we're working with trade unions so workers have proper pay, dignity at work and proper sick leave. I think all of these things shouldn't be put in opposition to each other because actually it's the corporations who are destroying our environment.
Like, there isn't enough trade unions in the UK. I already spoke about this in the last video, like one of my last videos. The reason why Denmark, for example, a Danish country, is doing so well in terms of the GDP per capita is because there's trade unions, my friend. There are trade unions that are out there pushing up your wages for the sake of everybody, right? It's just the facts. I truly believe that if every party was trying to push for more trade unions, the world, the UK, be a much better place, bro. And the thing is about nationalizing our water, I don't know why this hasn't been put back into place after Margaret Thatcher literally destroyed the whole country's economy because she kept privatizing everything. But the fact is, nobody else is talking about this. Nobody else. And if they are, there'll probably be a video playing right now.
Environment. But they're also the same people or same companies who are destroying our democracy and destroying our communities. This is all part of the same system. I think what's different though is I don't always come at it straight away from an environmental lens. I come at it from a social justice lens, but the environment is absolutely wrapped up in that. There's no way we can tackle the problems facing our environment and tackling the planet unless we have a more equal society.
Is one of those voices on the shoulder that...
Sorry. That makes so much sense. Because if everybody can't even afford a solar panel, you know how expensive solar panels are, bro? Because for a typical 4 kilowatt system suitable for a 2 to 3 bedroom house, 6 to 8 grand including installation. Now, if you look at the average wage of the UK economy, of people who work in the UK, yeah, they ain't got that to spare, bro. They ain't got that to spare to put that on top of their houses, so it just makes sense, man.
Louder than the other though?
I think it depends on the day, and I think it depends on what's going on in the news. I think around about COP, for instance, this is the meeting that happens once a year of all the countries around taking global climate action. Then climate and environment clearly comes to the front of the things that I'm talking about. The rest of the time is other times when we absolutely need to be protecting nature and restoring nature. When I'm not speaking about them though, it doesn't mean we don't care about them, and it's not that they're still not at the forefront of everything we're doing. It's just that we need to meet people where they're at. And if you're worried about putting food on your table, heat in your homes, whether you can get to work or even if you have a job, then the climate crisis can seem quite a distant thing. Now, given...
Facts. And that's probably why the Green Party hasn't been put into power, because people don't actually give a fuck about nature. Facts. Because they're worried about putting food on their tables, man. They're worried about putting money in their bank account. They don't care about the last tree that just got cut down in Malaysia or flipping Thailand or the Amazon forest. They don't give a fuck. What they care about is, can I go and get my kid a new Christmas present? Can I go and put flipping McDonald's on the kid's table, bro? Like that. Niggas don't care about nature. But when he puts it in this way, it actually just makes sense. The reason why people can't afford to care is because they can't afford to make their house more environmentally friendly. They just can't, bro. So yeah, makes sense.
Longer to talk about it, I can absolutely tell you how the climate crisis is going to exacerbate the inequality that already exists in our society. The working class communities I'm talking about when I talk about social justice will face the worst impacts of wildfires and floods. They're the people who are least resilient to it. And the horrible irony is they're the people who've done the least to cause it. That's both on a national level, but also internationally in the global south, who've extracted them for oil and gas. So these conversations are all part of the same conversation. The question though is, what's the first thing we talk about? And I want to talk about lowering people's bills.
Okay.
Now, come on now. Is this guy chatting shit? Is this guy chatting shit or not? I don't think he is, bro. If you like really think about it, bro, the person who can afford to not care about nature isn't affected by nature. He can afford to go get solar panels and actually make his house more environmentally friendly, but people that have weak houses, like, have you seen the new bills that are happening in the UK? They're fake brick, bro. That's because the rich don't want to give out their resources. So in turn of them doing that, that means you get weaker houses, you get shitter houses, poorly made houses. Just makes sense, bro. I don't see how more people don't know about him, but this is what this video is meant to be for. Come on. Come on now, bro.
Let's talk about some of those things. Let's pick them apart. How do you actually start addressing those issues? Are you committed to net zero by 2030? If so, how?
I'm undoubtedly committed to it, and I think anyone who isn't committed to it, that's sociopathic politics.
Well, the polls would show that at the moment, the vast majority of the public are agreeing with Nigel Farage, and they're looking at net zero by 2030 and say, to do that, you're going to raise our bills, not lower them.
Well, I fundamentally disagree. I think actually when you see polling, 89% of people want to see stronger action on climate. To come to your question, though, so I'm answering it directly, people don't want to do it if it's going to cost them more money. And I don't want them to do it if it's going to cost more money.
Wait, where did he get that poll from? Where did you get that poll from? 89% of people care more about climate change? Global study found 89% of people worldwide want stronger government action on climate change. Wow. In the UK, from the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero Public Attitudes Tracker, Spring 2024, about 80% said they were very or fairly concerned about climate change. So he's not lying.
At the moment, it is costing people more money. If you're asking them to install a heat pump,
let's go back a little bit.
It's going to cost more money. At the moment, it is costing people more money. If you're asking them to install a heat pump, or you're saying you need to insulate your own home to make it cooler in the summer and warmer in the winter at your own cost. These are the results of political choices from the government. They're not natural order. We can make different political choices. And right now, the government is subsidizing jet fuel. So if someone's getting a private jet, that is cheaper in terms of a government subsidy than if someone gets a train. It is absolutely outrageous. I went to Sheffield recently.
That's crazy.
It would have cost me more to get the train than to get a plane. I obviously got the train, but that's the wrong way round. Let's turn that round.
But there are far fewer people getting private jets
never heard that before.
than there are hopping on trains. So yes, those two things, people might look at them and go, wait a minute, that's a bit rummy. But the numbers don't add up, do they? By cancelling one, you're not able to pay for the other.
Well, we saw this government freeze fuel duty, for instance, so that's incentivizing car use. That's deeply irresponsible when we have air pollution in our cities. This often affects working class communities and minority communities even worse than anyone else. Again, that doesn't have to be a natural order. We can invest in public transport. We can make sure that we're electrifying our railway lines and also within our cities and particularly in rural communities. Some rural communities don't have a bus for days. That's absolutely outrageous. It's ridiculous if you want to get to work or even if you just want to see a friend. Ultimately, again, political choices to incentivize car use and not public transport. Let's turn that around and make sure we're investing in the greenest, cheapest, most affordable option.
And besides, like, it makes more sense for us to invest in public transport because instead of car use, because think about it like this. Your nan, yeah, let's just say, let's not even say your nan, let's just say an old person, right? When they get older, their vision gets impaired, their decision making gets slower, so it's more dangerous for them to be on the roads. It actually makes more sense for us to have public transport expandable to everywhere in the UK, so that when old people want to move somewhere, they don't have to go drive a car, or they don't have to go fork out for a cab, or wait for somebody to have to drive them somewhere. They can just use public transport, right? You see it in London all the time. I see old people on buses all the time, you know? And, you know, these are people who are retired, and if they can't even get somewhere, then it's like, fuck. They have to just sit in their homes, freezing.
The fuel duty freeze would impact an awful lot of working class people.
Well, so first of all, most working class people who are truly working class don't own a car at all. They're often walking to work or they're struggling to even pay the bus fare. So I think...
See, I don't know about this one. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know about this one. Because when it comes to working, when he says working class, what counts as working class in the UK? Like, I would love to know what he defines as working class. In the modern reality, many people who technically have middle class jobs, e.g. office jobs, still feel working class if they have little savings, rent rather than own a home, and have unstable work, which is what majority of jobs are today. There's no job securities or anything like that because trade unions are not about. So that's pretty much majority of the population live paycheck to paycheck. That is 99% of the population. Interesting. For example, someone earning 28 grand in London who struggle with rent may identify as working class even if their job is middle class on paper. Interesting. Very interesting. About 22% of households had no access to a car or van. Around 44% of households had exactly one car. About 34% of households had 2 or more cars. So overall, roughly 78% of UK households have at least one car. So I don't know who he's referring to there, who you're truly working class, you don't have a car, when 78% of people have a car. That one throwing me. That one's throwing me still.
That bit is important.
White van man would have an awful lot to pick up with you on this. They would disagree with you.
And I'd want to have that conversation, that disagreement, because, you know, they'd partly be right. And this is exactly what it comes to what I'm talking about. They're not the enemy, and people driving around are not the enemy. And again, as I've said, if you do not have an alternative, what do you expect people to do? I can understand why people drive in rural communities. I'm fortunate enough to live in the centre of London. I can cycle around. Public transport is amazing. That's not most people's experience in this country, and I really mean most people.
I could say, yeah, majority of people don't have that option. If you live in London, then of course you do. You know, it's one of the most walkable cities in the entire world. But outside of London, you can't walk nowhere, bruv. You can't walk nowhere, bruv.
So then the question is, what are you going to do about it? And I think the thing is to make sure that the money is going to give people cheaper and better alternatives. Now that's with transport, but you can take this across any measure whatsoever. Any option where you want people to do the right thing for the planet and the right thing for the community. Let's subsidize good behavior rather than subsidizing fossil fuel companies and oil and gas. And it's no coincidence that this Labour government took £4.1 million from Quadrature Capital. They're a hedge fund that have assets in oil and gas, arms trade and gambling companies. I think it points to why Keir Starmer and the Labour government are making so many terrible decisions. They're doing what they've been paid to by their vested interests. I have 2 vested interests, people and the planet.
I think.
Interesting. Oh, wrong button. Interesting. Now, when it comes to all the decisions that Keir Starmer's made so far, there's clearly corruption going on. 100%. 100%. But the fact that when they put in this Child Safety Act, they didn't do it properly. They didn't do it properly, man, because when it came to all these explicit sites, Keir Starmer kind of just came out of nowhere with this act, and he pretty much just said, yeah, you gotta do it, we're not gonna give you any help to do it, we're just gonna make you say, yeah, you gotta fucking do it, otherwise we're taking you down, you know, to try catch a couple sites out. And all your data, like let's say you actually verified your information on one of these corn sites, all of that information gets sent to a third party company that's not been verified by the government, not regulated by the government at all. That's sus, man. Why would they want that? It makes it vulnerable to data breaches, like what happened with the T app. It's mad. I'd say that their interests have changed because they've made it a really, really big problem to make the migrant crisis a crisis, when realistically it's not a crisis that hasn't been put into place by the British government. Like, the British government are the reason why these people are actually coming over. Did you know that? And now they're surprised that they're coming over when they have nowhere to live, when their literal land has been destroyed, man. Right? And there's vested interest in this shit. I'll pop a video up on screen. Watch that video, bro. Like, it goes into detail what I'm talking about.
In fairness, I think Keir Starmer and the government would turn around and say, no, they're making those decisions because of the economic black hole they've inherited. But that's just me doing my job.
But the economic black hole, you know, we first of all knew about that before it even existed.
Facts.
And they're making it worse. I almost feel sorry for Rachel Reeves that she's making disastrous decisions to appease the markets. And even the markets aren't happy with the decisions she makes. There is plenty of wealth in this country. Since the pandemic started, billionaire wealth in this country has over doubled.
Facts.
Whereas our public assets have totally been stripped away. Let's spend money on our public services and our NHS, which, by the way, also happens to be good for the economy.
Is your answer then to many of the social policies that you were talking about?
He's right, by the way. If everybody's able to afford healthcare, then guess what? There's more working people that can stay alive longer. There's not going to be a health crisis like there is in America, where doctors are literally selling your health so they can make a quick buck off of your literal dying body. if we ever let Nigel Farage or any other party sell off any more public assets such as the NHS, the health of the UK will decline significantly. Just like how it is in America. It doesn't take 2 and 2 to realise, oh wait, if we let it be all privatised, now there's a vested interest into making sure that you stay ill for longer. So, don't sell off our public assets. Economically, it just makes sense to keep our assets public. Do not privatise them.
Earlier on during your speech, so ending two-child benefit cap, reversing disability cuts. Is your plan to pay for all of these policies out of taxing the wealthy more and more? When it comes down to it, where we're going to get the money from, there we go, them lot, they can pay for it.
So I think that's the first measure, is to talk about the extraordinary wealth in this country and the huge inequality gap. We don't need to change that inequality gap because we need the money, and I'll come on to that in a second. It's important to tackle inequality in and of itself because that's disastrous. So yes to wealth tax, or 1% tax on assets of £10 million or more, or 2% on assets of £1 billion or more, could raise about £24 billion. Alongside that, we could bring capital gains tax in line with income tax. Now, the reason why that's important, other than to generate money, is right now we tax earned income more than we tax unearned wealth. I think to most people, that's outrageous and a completely ridiculous way of doing things. It doesn't have to be done that way. That's a series of political choices. Thatcher, Blair, and now Starmer, and obviously some terrible prime ministers in between that have kept that inequality. But also, we talk often about tax and spend, but actually this is the other way around. You can spend and tax. You can make sure that you're spending money on the public sector, because there's things called spending multipliers. Every pound we spend on the public sector ultimately throws throughout the rest of the economy. One of the number one things I want to take on is...
Which just makes sense, to be honest, because guess what? If you keep pumping money into one thing, like an investment, such as a business, if you're earning more money based on the amount of money that's been invested into it, well, guess what? There's more money to go around, so more jobs. And that's one of the biggest problems in the UK. We have a job scarcity in the UK to where there ain't enough jobs to go around, mate. There ain't enough jobs to go around, right? And if you have more public sector jobs, such as government workers, NHS workers, bringing back Thames Water back into the UK public sector, there's more jobs there too. That means better quality water, no more sewage getting pumped out into the sea, no more low quality water, bruv. Like, bro, I hate tap water. Tap water is disgusting, bruv. Like, if you ever try to compare it, tap water to Volvic water, the difference is insane, bro. I can literally smell the chlorine, bro. It's bad. But yeah, it just makes sense, bro.
Leader of the Green Party is this myth that the national economy is anything like a household budget. We hear these constant phrases about balancing the books or making tough choices. Why are these never tough choices for multimillionaires and billionaires? Why are they never tough choices for people earning extraordinary amounts of money while they sleep, whilst the rest of the country, with our hands, with our mouth, or whatever you do to work, are paying more and more tax? That's deeply unfair, and I'm not surprised.
That sounded a bit sus still. Your mouth. Hey. I mean, hey, I use my mouth pause. You know what? I'm already gonna stop right there, bruv. I use my voice to work, bro. Your mouth? That's a very sus statement still, but hey, who cares?
Well, we've had enough.
There's an easy choice for those billionaires and millionaires you're talking about, and that is leaving the country, which they could well do.
Well, they can leave, but they can't take that asset. So the Duke of Westminster owns half of Mayfair. That's about £10 billion or more, as along with many other assets. You just can't pick up those and leave. But also, I think we should be more patriotic than that. There's a group called the Patriotic Millionaires who are saying, please tax us more. Because actually we live in this country because we want to invest in this country.
Isn't that fairyland though, thinking, oh, wouldn't it be lovely if everyone was just giving more in their taxes? the truth is, people aren't going to do that.
No, I agree, and it is fairly loud, which is why I'm saying let's tax for rich. Now, if they want to give that willingly, I really support the patriotism of that. If they don't want to give it willingly, then it's government's job to make sure that we're taxing fairly. We're not asking for anything unfair here. We're saying if you have done extraordinarily well out of your business because we have a national health service, because we have a public education system, because of public services in this country, you should contribute to this country. And frankly, if you don't want to do that, then I'll happily wave you out the door.
Along with...
Now, this is something that everybody is scared about. It's all the billionaires and millionaires leaving, right? But if they all leave, right, it gives rise to more innovation. If you really think about it, if there's no longer a Tesco, for example, that once again brings back your local high street. The local high street shops, it will come back. Because where there's demand, there needs to be a supply, my guy. Simple supply and demand. We all learned this in school, bruv. Right? And when there's more places that are competing with each other and they aren't just getting, absolutely fucked by the big boys, then it gives rise to innovation. It gives rise to more businesses. More businesses need to fill in that gap now. So, and those businesses will happily pay the tax because otherwise they wouldn't have started their business in this country after the wealth tax has been put in. So why are people scared? The economy might be bad for a little bit, maybe, but guess what? Now you've got more variety. Now you've got rise to more British-owned supermarkets, British-owned businesses, more British branding, more innovation, my guy, more culture. Just saying.
Their tax revenues, they could be...
Now, it could be a lot less simpler than that. I'm not an economist, but from just thinking about it like that, in simple terms, it makes sense.
I think if they're not paying tax anyway, and we know they're offshore taxing, actually they're just leeching off society.
Facts.
As opposed to going, we are asking you a very reasonable demand here to pay a tiny amount on your wealth.
But they do already pay, I know you would like them to pay more tax, they do already pay an awful lot of tax. And they could be walking out the door with the tax that they already do pay.
I think the awful lot of tax is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. If you look at most of Western Europe and most social democratic or socialist countries, they're not paying very much tax at all. And in fact, I think most organizations recognize, I'm not talking about a little bit of tax here. I'm not talking about someone who's running the corner shop or someone running, who is self-employed or running a small business. I am talking about multimillionaires and billionaires. And even then, I'm talking about a 1% tax on assets of £10 million or more. Now, you could reasonably say to me, by the way, is that enough? And I think it probably isn't. And so I think I've got a role in the Green Party to go, could we be bolder with this actually and tax the wealthy more? But the fact you get so much pushback on 1% shows you how much corporate capital and capture there is in this country. That such a basic suggestion that people should probably pay a little bit more in tax is received, I don't mean you're doing this, but just generally with such outrage and such kickback. Well, I think it's time that we stop cowering to that kickback and go, if you want to leave. There are plenty of people in this country who are happy to pay tax. And I want people to live in this country who want to contribute to this country.
One other policy.
100%, bro. 100%. People are so scared. Stop being scared. Vote green, man. Vote green, bro. If they leave, thank you, bruv. Thank you, bruv. Right? Thank you, bruv. Fuck them, bro.
That you've already spoken about. You released a very emotive video during your campaign on the White Cliffs of Dover, looking out at sea, saying, look, the people who are coming across from France in small boats, they're being demonised by Labour and by the Reform Party.
Right.
But what we didn't hear from you is, well, what's...
And Conservatives, don't forget that, my friends. Oh shit. What the
One other policy that you've already spoken about. You released a very emotive video during your campaign on the White Cliffs of Dover.
I haven't watched yet.
Looking out at sea, saying, look, the people who are coming across from France in small boats, they're being demonised by Labour and by the Reform Party.
Right.
But what we didn't hear from you is, well, what's your actual policy on migration? So what is your policy on the small boats crisis?
My policy is we can stop the small boats crisis. It's not a crisis, it's a manufactured crisis. And actually, we could have safe and legal routes. This has been a manufactured crisis by the Conservative government and now the Labour government to create a backlog, to remove processing centres and to dehumanise some of the most vulnerable people in the world. Now, I accept not everyone is fleeing for their life. I accept that not everyone is fleeing from persecution. But let's start there. Lots of people are. And lots of people who then get to this country, having travelled on a perilous journey, then when they appeal for asylum, do receive asylum. So the idea that lots of people are coming here and they are not deserving of coming here is the first thing that needs challenging. I'll go further than that though. If someone is coming to this country and they're an economic migrant, so they're not a refugee, they're not someone seeking asylum from a safe country, but they just want to come to this country because they want a better life or they see a better life in this country, what kind of message are we sending if we want this country to be so bad that we don't want these people to come here? I think we should want a country that people want to live here. The legitimate question is are you going to pay money in tax? Are you going to work hard? Are you going to contribute to this country? And the answer, extraordinarily so, when you look at data, is migrants are so much more likely to put money into our taxation system than they ever are to take out in social security and welfare. And just the final thing is we have an aging population. We have masses of vacancies in the NHS. Sure, we need to train British people or people who are born in Britain for those jobs. But also, what is wrong with a migrant running our public services or contributing to this country? Again, as a patriot and someone who believes in progressive patriotism, I'm really proud that loving your country and loving your neighbour recognises that so many Black and Asian communities in this country right now are terrified. Now, they're not necessarily even migrant communities.
And that is literally what I've been preaching for time. Because after they're done, let's say Labour make it make a real change in terms of the migrant crisis that they manufactured. Not them, but Conservatives manufactured, but they also helped manufacture. Let's say they actually put their fucking dick on the table and they said, yo, no more boats. Right? After they're done with that, after reform has helped push that narrative, who do you think they target next? They target the minority communities, Black people. Do not forget how much they put Black people on the news every day. Every fucking day. When white people are doing it much, much more due to their percentage, right? But they'll never put a white guy on the TV. You know what I'm saying? They'll put a Black guy on the TV as soon as possible. But we all know the Black community in the UK makes significantly less money than other minority communities. We all know this. The reason why that's the case is because everybody hates Black people, and it's horrible to see it. Across the world, bro. China, America, you name it, they hate Black people, bruv. Even some Black people hate Black people. It's that bad, bro. It's that bad. Right? And why do I bring up hate? Because you're less likely to give a Black person the opportunity to earn more just because he's Black. Right? Because there's so many bad connotations in the media that make you think, oh, this type of person is worse than it actually is. When you look at the statistics, it's the exact, it's proportionate to the amount of people in their population, right? Black people, white people, Asian people commit crime at the exact rate of their population, bro. Across the board. Black people is a little bit more, and the reason for that is because Black people get arrested more, are policed more. So if you police people more, you're more likely to find a nigga doing a crime, bro. I bet if you went to a white community, predominantly white community, you started just knocking on everybody's door, be like, hey, what the fuck you doing in there? I smell ganja. What's all this ganja? You'll find that, yeah, it will start lining up again, bruv. But they don't get policed as much as Black people. People make it seem like it's just an American thing, but everybody knows if you're a Black person living in England, bro, in the UK, you know black people get policed way more than white people do. And that's just a fact, bro. Just by how they dress. Because they know people who dress in this certain type of way, you know, in UK gang culture, just for wearing a tracksuit, having your hoodie on, you could be labeled a suspect. Just for dressing like that, bro. And you'll get arrested. So, cultural appropriation, man. It's a real problem. Real talk. I can go on and on. This video is already getting way too long, man. But if you guys are interested in watching the rest of this video, because after this point, the interviewer just starts trying to go at his family, trying to make it a race thing, and I'm just like, fucking hell, bro. If you want to see it, just watch this video. Is Zach Polanski the left's answer to Nigel Farage by Channel 4 News? It's a good watch, man. It's a very good watch, man. And listening to it, I was like, right, this guy's actually talking facts. He's actually talking fucking facts. He's actually starting to make fucking sense. Right? This is something that we should have been preaching a long time ago. Rich people get richer because everybody's fucking scared of them. Right? But you can't let the buddy win. You can never let the buddy win. Because you'll just get poorer and poorer and poorer as every generation goes on. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, like about Zach Polanski, why you're opposed to actually voting for him. And yeah, just let me know if any points that you think I made were wrong. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that, because I'm not scared of criticism. Even though in the last video that blew up on my channel, there was a lot of people saying I was an idiot, and I was like, say no more, bro. Where's your facts though? So I don't give a fuck, bro. I showed you my truth. I showed you my opinion. I don't care. If you think I'm wrong, prove why I'm wrong. And the people that actually deconstructed why I said, I appreciate those type of comments. For real. For real. Because that actually made me sit and think and be like, raw. About British culture and things like that. And when I said that in the moment, I'm not going to lie to you. Hey, I didn't feel very British, bruv. But when I remember that British culture has evolved to where there's more cultures inside of British culture, but when in terms of UK culture, gang culture, that's a part of our culture. Going down to the pub is a part of our culture, even though I've never gone to the pub, by the way. Watching football, eating fish and chips, supporting Tommy Robinson, apparently. Which I'll never support, right? But yeah. That's my take, bro. And that's just to calm down the people that came in my comments, bro. That was mud, so I'm not gonna lie. But oh yeah, I also wanted to say thank you guys for 52 subscribers, man. That is insane. It's literally been a week and we've already hit 52. And I appreciate every single one of you that subscribe to my channel. And yeah, hope you have a good day. Love.